the winner of this fight could arguably be fighting for #1 contendership in the next fight. So this is a very high-profile fight. It's a very important fight for the division. It's important for Dominick Cruz and Chito. Okay, in the main event, we have Marlon Chito Vera versus Dominick Cruz. Let's take a look at some of the statistics here. Now, Marlon is on a 3-fight win streak, and Dominick just got back on track last year against Pedro Munoz. That fight was way back in December. Marlon will be 29 years old. Dominick is pushing 40. He's at 37, but he hasn't been as active towards the later half of his career due to injuries. Now, the weight this fight will be contested at is 135, the bantamweight division. The height will be the same. The reach advantage will be in favor of Marlon Chito Vera. Vera has 6 wins by KO compared to Dominick Cruz's 1. And Marlon does land more significant strikes per, I don't know if this is per round or, yeah, this has to be per round. He does land more than Dominick Cruz, which we know Dominick Cruz, a lot of his strikes are just to control the pacing of the fight and to control the distance, and also looking to set up takedowns. So Marlon also has more wins by submission, having 4, and Dominick has 0. That's one thing about this fight that I'm going to get into is Marlon, he is historically a slow starter. And he seems to pick up over time and get better after he make adjustments to what his opponent is doing. But then oftentimes he can get a finish because he's so dangerous on the ground with the submissions. He's also dangerous standing up with the strikes. The difference is Dominick Cruz, no matter how good of a fight he fights, he doesn't seem to look for submissions or look for KOs. He just doesn't seem to search for these things. Now, he has been able to get a few of them against, I know he got Takeya Mizugaki out of there a while ago, but that was quite some time ago. Yeah, that was in 2014, actually. So, yeah, he doesn't really hunt the finish like that compared to Marlon Vera, who he will actively seek a finish in the fight. He was down against Frankie Edgar, and he came back with 10 seconds left to go, and he was able to finish that fight. And if we just go down and look at his record, a lot of his fights, look, win, submission by armbar, TKO head kicking punches, KO punch to the body, submission, rear naked choke, TKO win. Like, he's going to go for it. And one thing to note is Marlon himself has never been finished. He has never been finished by submission or by knockout. And hey, that says a lot. And it's very interesting because he doesn't really have to look out for those things because Dominick is really more of a point fighter. Like, he's going to try to get the 5-round decision, and he's not going to be looking for a finish. So in a way, that kind of gives him an advantage because no matter how much momentum Dominick gains over the course of the fight, Marlon will still be able to know that he has a chance and an opportunity because Dominick won't really put him away. And if we go look at Dominick's record, he was only finished by Henry Cejudo. Felt like that was a little bit of an early stoppage. And the Uriah Faber finish from years and years ago, he avenged that already. But a majority of his wins do come by decision. Now, my ultimate pick is going to be Dominick Cruz because it's a 5-round fight. With it being a 5-round fight, I go back and look at Chito's last fight with Rob Font. Chito did an amazing job of being able to come back and do damage that was able to steal the rounds away from Rob Font, but Rob really controlled the distance. He really controlled the striking. That's where a majority of the fight took place, is on the feet. And that was in Rob's hands a majority of the fight. It was a few times where at the end of the round, he would get caught with something or he would get rocked or dropped. and Chito was able to steal the round from up under him. And that was more of a deficiency in the defensive Rob front. And it was really good by Chito to be able to see the openings to take advantage. But I don't see those openings being here against Dominick Cruz. One thing I will say is the last few fights we have seen Dominick get hurt a little bit more than what we used to. He did get dropped a few times against Cody Garbrandt. He did get dropped in the Henry Cejudo fight. And he did get dropped in the Pedro Munoz fight. I don't know what all that means, but if he can avoid being hit and losing rounds the way Rob Font did, I expect him to use his strikes, to use his footwork, to use his movement, to use his IQ, his cardio, to dance around Marlon and to be able to basically control the fight and take the rounds. One thing we saw in the Rob Font fight was that Chito, he will let you steal rounds. Like, he will let you kind of do what you do and take the rounds from under him, because a lot of what he does early in the fight is making investments to the body or leg kicks so that later on he could get a payoff, which I do believe that is a smart thing to do. Another thing that we have to take into consideration is Dominick has been out for injuries. More specifically, he's had a few leg injuries, ACL injuries. And we know Chito is going to be kicking the legs. Chito is definitely going to be going low. He's going to be mixing it up, going to the body, going to the leg kicks, throwing spinning kicks, throwing side kicks to the face, what he did to Rob Font. The front kick that he landed on Frankie Edgar. Chito was actually losing that fight against Frankie Edgar. He was about 10 seconds away from losing a decision before that happened. So one thing about him, he's very tough. He's very durable. He has multiple ways to finish the fight, whether it's grappling or whether it's standing up. And when he knows he's down on the scorecards, he really does seem to have an awareness of the fact that he's down and he needs to do something in order to at least even out the round or to completely steal the round or get the finish. I don't necessarily see him finishing Dominick Cruz here, even with all the tools that Marlon has. Over the course of 5 rounds, I think Dominick Cruz will pick him apart. I do see certain instances where Marlon can maybe connect and hit Dominick hard, and Dominick will have to figure out ways to not let Marlon get the round or to be able to use the takedowns and to stifle the offense of Chito. But I'm ultimately going to pick Dominick Cruz over the course of the 25 minutes. I'm not counting Marlon out of the fight by any stretch of the imagination. He is always in the fight. I wouldn't be surprised if he won, actually, but I'm just picking Dominick Cruz personally. I think that Dominick can make another run towards the title. For him to lose this fight, he would have to be, maybe injured or just off of his game completely. But I don't expect him to come in like that. I know that he knows there's too much at stake. The winner of this fight could arguably be fighting for #1 contendership in the next fight. So this is a very high-profile fight. It's a very important fight for the division. It's important for Dominick Cruz and Chito. I'm picking Dominick Cruz by decision.